June 28th. I thought for a wrap-up for the water break project, I could do a review of the different tools that I used to get the job done. I didn't realize I had quite so many things involved, but there sure was. The first one, and one of the most tools that I really depended on quite a bit, was the Manus tiller. It's gas-driven, and it's a pull-start engine. It's good for gardening, and it really did a fair job on that trench, especially since I couldn't get a full-size tiller in all those narrow areas. It's a good little tool. I'm glad I got it, and I'm glad I got the gas one so I don't have to mess with that electrical cord running around. Okay, the next thing that I used was I took these big tarps, cut it in half, and I spread it out to put all the dirt on it so that I could just put the dirt back into the trench when I was done. This was almost a necessity because I had all that gravel I had to work around in the driveway. These here were knee pads. Used it for my rump and my knees, and my dad used it for his knees when he was over there with tying into the city water over at the box. These are really nice. Kind of like an extra, you'd think, but you get awfully tired sitting on gravel, I can tell you that. Of course, another good thing to have is your good sturdy work boots. These are hiking boots, but they were strong enough for me where if those blades on the Manus tiller got crazy and decided to jump on my feet, at least I would have had some protection there. Of course, you want to wear your long, grubby Levi's and some kind of a top with decent sleeves on them. And for your arms, to protect it, I always wore sunblock. Because my dad has had skin cancer burned off, and that's not fun. Skin block is pretty much a necessity out here, and especially in the Southwest. A wet neck, if you get it wet and cool and tie it around your neck, and it helps keep your temperature down. I did the same thing for this, but I wore it over my head and then down the back of my neck, so that wet, so that it also protected from sunburn as well as keeping me cool. And of course, straw hat with a tie to keep it under your chin. Oh, lots of water, lots of Gatorade. Keep your electrolytes up. Both are necessity. I can't tell you how many bottles of that I went through. An organizing bin. This is what I kept my tools in. I would get done with a tool and put it in there so I didn't have to go hunting around. Did I leave it in the front? Did I leave it in the back? As soon as I get done with the tool and I'm walking by the box, I stick it in there and I know where to get it the next time. That saved me a lot of steps. Now for the little stuff, here we've got some of the connectors needed for the PVC. This one I use the most. It's a 3/4 inch MIP by 1.5. It was about $4 or $5, and I use that to connect off to the galvanized quite a bit. This was the one that connects to the galvanized and a hose bib, and that's a 3/4 MH and 3/4 MIP. So you got this thread on one end of this, but you have your hose thread on the other. Then a cap. And this was to keep the dirt out of the PVC as much as I could, so I didn't have to flush a lot out of the system. This I talked about before. It hooks into the galvanized, and this side slips into your PVC. This is your coupling. These are all 3/4, of course. That's the normal size for water. This is your elbow or your 90. This is, of course, your T and tap. And it has a female end on it. That's the most important thing. If you have a female and you're trying to get a PVC over it, you can often, let's say this is threaded and this is a female, you can split this right here. And sometimes you have to put a restraining strap around it, but it's best if you get a female and then use a male plastic PVC to fit in that instead of vice versa. Your pipe thread compound, and then this is your plumber's tape. That Teflon tape, you can use that or your dope, your compound. Toss up which one you want. This is your PVC pipe wrap, and that you wrap up your insulation with this. See here, here's some insulation that wasn't wrapped up well enough with the PVC tape and it's coming off. But you wrap that all up nice and secure with that tape. So I need to come back and do this. That's on a different project. These are your different types of primer. This box comes with primer and cement. Primer and cement. This is your primer, the purple, and there's your cement. And then here's your alternative cement. That's the Red Hot Blue by Christie. That's the stuff that dries in, say, half an hour, whereas this cement dries in overnight. Next thing I used was a reciprocating saw with the appropriate metal blade and the correct hex for wrench or Allen wrench for putting the blade in. Extension cord for hooking it up to electrical source. If you don't have this, your life is a lot easier if you do. But if you don't have this, you can always use the handy hacksaw. Of course, gloves. I had a couple different kinds of gloves. I had the heavy duty for digging when my palms were sore, and I had the light cottony gloves for everything else, because I can feel through those, and I like being able to feel what I'm doing. And then your flexible water heater connector. That's that copper flex tubing that I used on both sides of the mobile home. The organizer. That tray was nice because if I didn't need all the PVC pieces in there, then I could just take my tray for my tools. This is a pipe cutter, PVC pipe cutter right here. I've already been using it this morning. I can show you how that works. This is your PVC pipe cutter. It has a little restraining wire here. You just take that off, open it up, and the jaws open up in the front that way. It works on a little ratchet system under here. You just squeeze your handle, get it nice and flush on your pipe. You squeeze your handle, open it up. The ratchet system pops in, you squeeze it again, penetrates the pipe, and I'll show you how the ratchet system works. See how that hook went down into the next slot right here? Squeeze it again, open it up. Now watch the little thing pop in. Right there, it popped into the next slot. Squeeze it again. And the more you squeeze it, your blade penetrates more and more into the pipe. Penetrate a little more. It'll get to the place where it actually cuts through the pipe. Just like that. The other storage bin I had was this one here. That takes care of the front of this. I'll clean this up, and then we'll start looking at the bigger tools in the back. This crowbar, I cleaned out around the meter box because I couldn't really get my shovel or anything else in there, and that seemed to fit just right to get the dirt out of the way. My old ball valve out of the meter box, when the Tucson water guy broke it off right here, so he gave me a brand new one. And when Dad came over and used the reciprocal saw and cut that pipe off there to connect my new one, this here I kept. I know, another souvenir. That water sprayer hooks off to the hose on that end, and then the water shoots out the end right there. That's what I got underneath the sidewalk with. And my chicken claw, I really use that to bring the hay forward in the chicken coop so I don't have to duck under and get under there. But I use it to dig the dirt out from underneath the sidewalk too. This is a key, meter key. This one's made out of rebar, got it at Ace Hardware. And then the long handle so you have some good torque, and has that little U-shaped thing that fits around it's supposed to fit right like that, and then you give it a crank and it turns that on the water company side. That's a nice thing to have. That was about $9, well worth it. Of course, your flat shovel, your pointed shovel, breaker bar. This little breaker bar is about 5 foot tall. Got pointy on one end, and it's got a spade flat end on the other. If I didn't use that too much, and then here's a heavy duty rake. Use that to smooth out the gravel once I shoveled it all in place. That was handy for finishing. And of course the hoe that I made a week or so ago, I actually used that quite a bit. Pulled the loose gravel out from the side all the way along. And then this is my grandmother's mattock. My grandmother has since passed away. She passed away at 83. And this has a little pick on one side and a little flat blade on the other. And I use that to try to pick the ground and break the ground. And I did that for a while, and then decided that I really need to get my Manus tiller out. So that little mattock was pretty handy. Well, that's about it. That was the total inventory. Hope I didn't forget anything. That's what I needed to get the job done.